everyone. Welcome to a quick shot of romance in Author Spotlight. I am Becky, and joining me on this episode is author Lilian Harris. Hi, Lilian.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I will say one of our listeners, Gretchen, is a huge fan.
I know, she recommended me for this podcast. So, yes, I know. She's
So
awesome.
she's so awesome, and we are very community driven. So when our listeners say, "Hey, pay attention over here," we try our best to.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you.
So we are spotlighting your latest released, Sinful Vows.
Val.
The book
Yeah.
releases on January 30th. This episode is dropping on January 31st. This will be spoiler free. We are not going to spoil the book because we really hope that everyone will go out and grab it.
Yay.
I'm going to read your bio and then we'll get into all of this.
Cool.
So,
Thank you.
Lilian Harris, for Lilian, a love of writing began with the love of books, from Goosebumps to romance novels with sexy men on the covers. She loves them all. It's no surprise that at the age of 8, she started writing poetry and lyrics and hasn't stopped writing since. I love that. I love that you are not just a storyteller, but a reader.
Yes, I've been a reader my whole life. Since I basically learned English, I've been reading. So,
Yeah, I am a lifelong reader, and I can't think of a time in my life when there wasn't a book that also speaks to
yes,
me from that time.
I get that. Yeah, I basically lived in the library when I was a kid, or a bookstore when I could.
Same,
Usually a library.
same. It was always a big day when we could go to libraries, or
Yes.
we had a small used bookstore in our town, and my mom would take me and she'd take her bag of books to turn in for credit, and then we'd get books. I loved that.
I know. I love books too. I try to make my kids love books as much as possible. It doesn't always work that way, but we try.
It comes. I have teenagers now, and when they were little, they weren't big readers. And
Yeah.
now they are getting better and becoming readers. So
So there's still hope. Okay, good.
there is still hope, yes. And I have one that prefers audiobooks. He's
Okay.
much more into audiobooks, which is cool. Graphic novels and
Yeah.
audiobooks are his thing, which is,
Yeah, graphic novels are big. Yeah.
I love them. I think they're really pretty. So
They are really pretty. Yeah. I've never got into them, but they look cool. They look awesome.
yeah, I haven't either, and I don't understand manga and
I
how it
don't get it
reads
either.
and stuff. But hey, all forms of reading are valid. If you read it,
Exactly.
read it.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit. Let's get to know you a little bit before we talk about Sinful Vows. Um,
Sure.
so you are a reader of romance, but what drew you? Because going from poetry and lyrics into writing a full romance story, that's kind of different. So what was that helped lead you that way?
So even when I wrote poetry, especially when I became like high school age, it was always romance based. It was either heartbreak or first love or some kind of romance. I don't know. It was always there in me. And even lyrics were, based on love and relationships and all of that stuff. So again, always there with me. I tried writing a book in 2014, actually. It didn't go so well. And my oldest, who's 9 now, he was about 1. And basically, I got about maybe 10,000 words, and then I gave it up. I never did it again. And then 2019 hit, and I was reading one of my favorite authors, Brittany Cherry, and I was like, okay, I could do this. Like that passion for writing hit me again, and I was like, I can do this. So I just wrote a book. I didn't think anything would come of it, and then I don't know, I just did it. So I just wrote a whole book, and I was like, okay, cool, I did this. My dream came true, check.
Yeah.
And then people were asking me, well, what about this character? And I was like, wait, I'm supposed to give them all a book? Like, for real? That's supposed to happen? And then they all got a book. And then, yeah, like I'm still here. So, yeah.
I love that. I know that the pandemic 2020 was really hard for a lot of people, but in other ways, it
Yeah.
helped. It gave some of us the time to reset and to
Yes.
realize our dreams and pursue them, because we had some time freedom that we didn't have previous.
Yeah. So I actually started right before the pandemic. So my first book came out in October 2019. So
Oh,
like
okay.
literally right before that. I wasn't popping out a lot of books at the time. I think in 2020 I only had 2, but I was also pregnant and miserable, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I had kids at home, like, from school after I gave birth. So in 2021, I only had two more books. And then, so it was hard. It was very hard for me. I honestly, in late 2020, I was like, I'm never going to write again. Like my third one was a few months old. My kids were doing homeschooling. I was like, that's it. My career's over. I'm done retiring. But, I somehow pulled through. So, still doing it.
Yeah. So what kind of writer are you? So there are pantsers and there are plotters.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
what kind of writer are you?
I'm kind of in the middle. I need a roadmap. I can't go completely blind. I need to know my characters. Sometimes it takes me a while to know them, but I need to have a roadmap. So I won't have like everything plotted, but I will have a beginning, middle, and end. And then every time I start a new chapter, I will bullet point that chapter. That way I can just sprint and like just get my words in because I know where I'm going in that chapter. But to sit there and plot the entire book from scene to scene, I don't do that. It kills my creativity. I need to have some leeway to do what I want. And sometimes the story just does its own thing. You're like, okay, I was going to do that, but now it's not going to work. So it's going to be something else. So I'm kind of in the middle, I guess.
So are you an author with voices in your head? I say that and it
Yes.
sounds crazy,
Voices.
but
Yes.
do you have
I'm one of the
voices?
lunatics. Sometimes my kids like, Mom, are you talking to yourself? I'm like, shh, it's part of the process. It's what I do. Hey, they're talking in my head. Leave me be. They're like, okay, crazy mom. But yeah, they do talk to me, and I see everything like a movie in my head. So as I'm writing, it's like happening in my head, and I'm seeing like their expressions, and I'm seeing what they're doing, like how they're doing it. So it's playing in my head the whole time.
I love that. I'm a shower idea person, so I talk
Oh
things
my
out to
God.
myself in the shower.
You have one of those notepads where you can write in the shower because I have that.
I
It's amazing.
don't. I will yell at. I
Oh,
take my phone into
so
the
good.
shower and then I'll yell at like Siri
I'll
um
record it.
to record it, or I'll
Yeah,
have her send text messages to one of my contributors or one of the podcast participants and stuff that
yeah, yeah.
helps with reviews, and I'll be like, "Hey, what do you think about this for an idea or this about a question?"
Shower ideas. Or do you get ideas when you're trying to fall asleep? Because that happens to me. Every
Yes.
time it's like 2 in the morning. I'm like, please, seriously now?
Yeah, and then they like have to work out in your brain and you have to work
Yes,
out how it's going to play out, and
yes.
I
It's awful. I'm
compose
like, really?
whole emails. Cause so I work in my day job, I'm a copy editor and then
Okay.
also do developmental edits and alpha and beta
Okay.
reading.
Okay.
And that's my day job. And so maybe I'll have put a book down at the end of my workday, but there's still something in it that's bugging me
Yeah.
and that I need to help figure out how we're going to move it forward. And then I compose whole ideas in my head. And then you have to like sit there, memo it on your phone and try not to wake up your
Yes.
spouse.
Yes. He thinks I'm a lunatic too. It's like my whole family thinks I'm a lunatic. I'm like,
Same.
I've embraced the title. Like I'm cool with it.
You're
It's
not
cool.
alone. My
Yeah, I'm glad.
You're not alone. So do you have a favorite romantic trope?
I do. Enemies to lovers, hands down, my favorite. I love that whole vibe of like hating each other, but sometimes not really hating each other. Like it's my jam. I could write enemies to lovers all damn day. Like just my favorite.
Well, I think it
Yeah.
works well. You write darker romance, mafia type romances, and I think that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
works well
yeah,
when there's
yeah. And
that,
yeah, for
you know,
sure. It doesn't work for all books. Like I have the second one in the series is an age gap, and as much as I wanted to put the enemies to lovers in, it just didn't work out. So I was
yeah.
like, nope, not happening. Can't push a trope that doesn't fit. So
No, no, you
yeah,
can't. And sometimes again, it's those characters telling you what's
yeah.
going to
Like
work.
they're like,
But I do love the banter in enemies to lovers.
I know, me too. Me too.
So
I love it. So fun.
banter will always suck me into a story. Like good
Oh
banter,
yes,
and I'm there.
exactly. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like a full on like I'm gonna murder you type of thing. like it's more of like even like a more playful enemies to lovers type vibe. I'm here for all shades of enemies to
Yeah.
lovers. All of
I
them.
really like adversaries to lovers or even that rivals to lover where they're just
Yes.
like they might not actually hate each other, but it's been ingrained in them because their families are warring
True.
or the
Yes. True.
neighbor. I love a good neighbor fight.
Maybe fights are fun. I can't say I did that, but I've read them. Yeah.
They're
I agree. I
fun.
like that. They are a lot
Um,
of fun.
okay, so you had to make the decision to press publish on your very first book, and that is
Yeah.
not an easy thing to do.
No, it wasn't.
You're putting yourself out there you're putting your art out there and you're
Yes,
putting
it's hard.
the words that have come from your soul out into the world, and you're saying, this is no longer mine. I'm giving this to the world. So, what are
Yeah.
some of those feelings when you make that choice?
My God, it's definitely fear. I'm a people pleaser. So that feeling of like, oh my goodness, they're going to hate it. They're going to hate me. They're going to hate the words, the story, the characters, all of that. It's frightening. I think it doesn't go away no matter how many books you write. Whether it's actually worse now than it was in the beginning, because I feel like in the beginning I had nothing to lose. Like, okay, they don't know me. If they hate it, great. I won't write again. But now it's like, oh my goodness, like I have like a tiny amount of readers. Like they actually want my books. And what if they don't like my books? What if they say that this one's really terrible? So all those feelings of like not being good enough, not making people happy, failing people, like those things go through my head. Like they eat at me.
Yeah.
So that whole people pleasing thing it sucks. Sucks. It really does.
Okay, well, let's talk about Sinful Vows. Sinful Vows releases on January 30th. This is a mafia romance. It is a marriage of convenience. It is a dark romance, so we do want to warn our listeners, make sure you check content and trigger warnings because there is on-page violence and there is mention of rape and some consent
Yes.
that plays into that. Uh,
Yes. There's more like so there's a scene with consensual non-consent. I think that's the formal title of that. So there is a scene like that. And the heroine is trafficked. So she escapes that life. And some of those scenes of her life are on page. So definitely be mindful of that for
yeah.
sure.
Well, there's some big
Yeah.
emotions in this book. You did
Yeah.
not shy away from
Yeah.
the
I never
feelings
do.
of
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah. I'm big on emotional writing. Like people that have read me for a while know that. I love writing it. Even with my contemporary series, when I had my contemporary series, like it was very emotional. Like I love writing that. So I try to translate that into my mafia books now.
It's
I don't know
big
if I did a good
emotion.
job, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean,
love writing with emotion.
because even like the opening scene as she has left her trafficking situation and moved
Yeah,
forward into this next situation where with the Messinina family, she's hiding in a corner at one point, not sure of what's going to happen with her, and her fear was tangible. Her fear was like the way you wrote those words, like I felt her fear,
I'm glad.
the anxiety she had of not
Yeah.
knowing what to do. And there's a moment because he is a single dad, and
Yes.
there's a moment between her and the child, and you feel like her breath like just caught, and knowing that like this is it, she's done. And that was like chapter one of the book. And I'm like, Lillian, what are you doing to me here?
Oh, good. I'm glad. That's always my goal. I go through so much self edits of my own until I'm fully satisfied that I've accomplished these feelings in my own self before I give it to my editor. Like my self editing process is scary because I really like, I'm never happy. And I try to make those emotions come across so much. And I'm glad that you said that they did come across. It makes me really happy.
They did. They really did. And it was, so this book is available in Kindle Unlimited.
Yes.
And this is one of those books, you guys, that you're going to pick up and you aren't going to put it down till you're done. And even though
Okay.
it ends with her and the hero having their HEA, I am still desperate for book two. Like,
Yay.
desperate. I think this is going to be a 3-book series,
Yes,
I'm
and it's going to
assuming.
spin off to an Irish. Yeah, I'm doing spin off after spin off. So yeah, it's going to be three Messina books. Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, because there are 3 brothers. I'm going
Three
to need all
brothers.
3
Yeah.
brothers.
I love writing brothers so much. It's my favorite.
So, when you're writing dark romance, how do you balance the romance and the darkness that comes with them? Because there was chemistry and passion, but in this book it's not forced. It does
No.
feel natural. Like there's a natural evolution to the characters and them coming together in their feelings. So how do you balance that, because it is also has darkness?
Yeah. So I feel like my mafia romance, like the relationship itself is not ultra dark. Like it's dark because, well, he's in the mafia and he does unalive people. It's kind of what he does. But he's also swoony character. He's also single dad, and so I don't find it hard to make him likable because he has so many other qualities that are likable about him. So I can draw on those things and kind of put that on page and kind of show the reader like the mafia is not all he is. He is this amazing dad and he has the soft side he hides behind. So I play on that. I like to write alpha guys who are swoony and, who fall head over heels for the heroine. Like that's just what I do. So I don't find that very difficult because I like my characters,
Yeah.
so
Well, and Michael has a real humanity, and you see that even before he connects, and the heroine's name just flew out my head.
Elsie.
Elsie.
Yeah.
You see his humanity even before you see his kindness to Elsie,
Yes.
because you see it with the way he interacts with his daughter Sophia, but
Hmm.
also like he has a care towards his mother and
Hmm.
also his brothers, and that family dynamic, it's really intense. And I think that because it's mafia and it's dark, it's even brought more to the forefront. But you did an amazing job with
Thank
that.
you.
Is there, because he's a little bit of an anti-hero, like you said, he does unalive people.
He does. He does.
What are the challenges when you're writing an anti-hero, but you also want him to be swoony and to be that book boyfriend? How do you, like, what little things do you like to see that help make that happen?
I think him kind of softening for the heroine, like which is I guess goes against the grain of like what people would expect for a mafia guy. But when you see him doing stuff and being kind, like one of the scenes I wrote in the book where he says something like where she says, like he gives her closet space and she says like, well, he says, I'll make room for your things. And she says, well, I have nothing. He goes, well, my wife will want for nothing. You'll have everything. Like things like that, like really for me personally, even as a reader, I'm like, oh my God, that is so sweet. So like things like that, I'm like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I can see why she would fall for someone like that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of that, like, what is his love language? Or does he find her love language? Is it in
Hmm.
touches? Is it in gift giving?
Hmm.
And I think
Yeah,
between these two, for Elsie and for Michael, it was just about him listening and
for
accepting
sure.
her emotions and not
For
like
sure.
just shutting her out.
For sure, 100%. And also, I think for her, I feel like when I was plotting her or figuring her out, for me, it was like she is more action driven. I mean, she likes the words, but she's more action driven. Like the stuff that he would do for her would make her fall for him even more. Like that's how she was.
Yeah. So like I said, there are three brothers in this family.
Yes. Hmm.
And so we're going to see, three books. This is a series. And what would you say the theme of this series is? Because for me, I felt like the theme was protecting what you love at all cost. Like for Michael, and then you saw it a little bit with the brothers in the end. And I'm not going to spoil this, people, but I need y'all to read it so we can talk about it. Um, in the end, it came down to whatever I have to do to protect those that I love.
Yeah, that's for sure one of the biggest themes in all three books, and also fighting for what you want. Uh, for sure, it comes to him realizing he has to fight to have her in his life. And it goes across to the next book with the age gap with Raph and Nicolette, and also in the third book, Geo and Assault. And he has to also fight for what he wants. So that is a huge theme in the book as well. Fighting for what you want and protecting those you love. Yeah.
It was really such a great story, and it is
Thank you.
out now in Kindle Unlimited. It is called Sinful Vows. Lillian, what is next?
So I'm going to finish this series, The Messina Crime Family, and so the third book is going to connect with the Irish mob, and so they're going to get four books because there's actually five siblings, and one of them, the sister, is going to end up with one of the Italian brothers, and then it's going to spin off to the Irish little sister, and then she has three older brothers. They're going to all get books, and then probably doing the Russian mob. I speak Russian fluently, and I always told my readers I'm never going to write Russian mafia. Like, never going to do it. I'm doing it. I'm going to end up doing it after the Irish books. So that's going to be what's next. And I have another story idea that I'm just like completely obsessed with. And I don't even know if I should mention it, but no, it's not like I'm like dying to write this. And I know a few of my readers know this. It's the lawyer for the mob, and it's he loses his memory. So
Oh, amnesia. Nice.
amnesia from his, oh my God, I want to write it so bad. But it doesn't tie fully into like the whole mafia life, but he is fully in the mafia. He just forgets his whole life.
Oh.
And he's gone for like years, and his wife is like his soulmate, and she can't find him. It's like a whole thing. It has a lot of suspense, and I really want to write it. I probably will, but I don't know when. But that's it. That's my whole life. You got
That's
it.
everything.
Like, the next like what? Like 8 books you just got? Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for next because we do meet some of these Irish mafia brothers in
Yes.
this book.
Yep.
And
Mm-hmm.
they're funny.
Oh yeah, Gio and the two Fionn and Cillian, they're funny. Yeah. The other one, Tynan, he's more of like that broody,
A little bit grumpy.
get away from me, grumpy dude. Yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait because as I was reading, I'm like, these guys are interesting. I am
Yes,
all for
they
a
will
plot
be.
bunny. Send them all to me.
Yay. Yay.
Anyway, Lilian, thank you so much for joining us for this quick shot of romance author
Thank you
spotlight.
so much for having me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course, everybody, you can find Sinful Vows available right now in Kindle Unlimited. And until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.